Paolina. My guest today, Don the Dragon Wilson. Greatest kickboxer that ever lived. Van Lathan. Nice guy.
That's the first time I ever heard you say that.
What's that?
Say my name like that, Don the Dragon Wilson.
Don the Dragon Wilson.
Now, usually,
What do I usually say?
just call me Don, like everybody else, a normal human being. I got a big mouthful when I get in the ring. Don the Dragon Wilson.
Well, Don the Dragon Wilson is probably the greatest kickboxer that ever lived. Considered the Muhammad Ali of kickboxing. 11-time world champion. With a record of 73 wins, 5 losses, 2 draws rather, and 48 knockouts. Pretty amazing. And he's still fighting.
I'll fight in the parking lot if they got cash. No fighter is done until you quit offering them money. Look at Tyson and Roy Jones. If you offer a fighter money, look, we're mercenaries. If you offer us money, we just come out. And you know what? Tyson is not the man he was, and neither is Roy. But you know what? It's still going to be interesting. Like Mayweather, he's
Yeah, as long as they're fighting each other, you know what I mean. If they were taking on, I think if they were taking on guys in their prime, you know what I mean. If it was Tyson versus Tyson Fury, that would be something. But he's taking on Roy, so you're interested.
Yeah. It's a level playing field a little bit. It's
Well, Oscar De La Hoya is coming back, and he wants to fight the top fighters.
That's stupid. It's dumb.
Yeah, it's not
Well,
good.
He wants to. So
possibly.
Oscar De La Hoya
George Foreman did it.
George Foreman did it, but he did it after a long layoff.
Yeah, and not a normal layoff, because normal boxers, and I know Marvin Hagler, who I'm not outing him or anything, because everybody knows, he's a big partier. As soon as, he was the most dedicated guy when he was champion. As soon as he hung up the gloves, that's when the partying started. And the
Marvin
eating and
Hagler?
everything. Hagler, yes. And, that's why he lost it pretty fast, the edge. And, today, a lot of fighters they still have the same name. You still got Mike Tyson. You still got Roy Jones. They still have Hart.
Right.
And they're not losers, and they're not going to give up. That's for sure. But the body. Look, I'm 65. I know the difference between when I was 1984. We were figuring was my best year. I was 30.
From Cocoa Beach, Florida, the world champion, Don Wilson.
It was 35 years ago.
What goes first? Like when it starts to go, like when you don't have the edge anymore, you're not the fight. Like what's the first thing to go? What goes first?
Well, I don't know for the other fighters, but for me it was speed. I used to be able to just.
You're talking about reflexes,
like
reflexes.
No,
also?
my limb speed. My hand and
Same thing,
kicking.
I guess, reflexes.
I don't know if it means the same for like running, because I don't know if it's fast twitch muscles or why, but I could put my foot on guys. I mean, their hands like this, and I would just go whapping it, just smack them right in the face with my foot. And as I got older, it started being less and less, and then I quit going for the face, because the head's a moving target, and I just started kicking to the body. And you know what? I wasn't even trying to score on them because their elbows, they were blocking it, but I was making them react to it. Then I could step in with my hands. So I believe at the later part of my career, I kind of lost that foot speed. And I was still fighting then, by the way. But I was 48 years old. So that's already old,
Yeah.
I mean, I had to fly to Atlantic City 3 months before the fight because the Tropicana did not want to spend, they were going to spend money advertising the fight. They didn't want to spend the money until I got the boxing license. So, because boxing controls kickboxing. So normally, I would just go and get a California state license, and then they would rubber stamp it in Atlantic City. But because I was 48, they didn't want that. Their doctors had to give me the okay. So I fly to, now think about this. I'm flying to Atlantic City to get a physical. So I show up 3 months before the fight because they didn't want to spend any money. And the nurse comes out to me, and she looks at my chart, she looks at me, and she goes, well, how old are you? And I said, 48. She goes, I'll be right back. She leaves, she comes back in with another nurse, and she goes, like she's mad at me, she goes, tell her how old you are. And I said, I'm 48. So basically, you if you're breathing and your heart is beating, you'll pass any boxing physical test.
Right.
But I guess they just wanted to make sure.
As long as you walk straight. because I had a fighter once. We had a big fight. It was like a minor championship fight, and they said just walk straight in the hallway to the office. Mm-hmm. He crashed into like two walls.
I've taken the
And
neurological.
we lost the fight.
I've taken the neurological test, right? But it's I don't want to say I scammed it because I did what they told me to do. What they do is they give you something that I know Trump couldn't pass it, but it's a bunch of complicated things and questions and stuff. But before you get the test, they give you 5 unrelated words. And but I took a couple. I had done memory, and what they do is after you've done this test, you've been thinking of everything. The guy comes in the office and he goes, "What are the 5 words I told you when you first came in?" And if you can't,
I remember
if
that.
you can't get a single one, you probably shouldn't be fighting. Right. Because it's like. But what I did was, there's memory tricks you can do. You get 10 unrelated words, but you play a story in your mind. A brown dog pees on a green fire hydrant and goes into the.
You put it into a sentence.
But it's a little story though,
yeah.
and so I got all 5 of the words.
Is it
because I cheated on the test?
Are you guys not both troubled by the fact that you had to make up a system to remember 5 words?
Oh yes, no, I got hit. Look, imagine this. I was an engineering major, and I was on the dean's list. I mean, straight A's in college.
Sure.
I went from that, but my head has been hit.
I wish I could have gave you 5 words before.
My head has been hit 10,000 times.
Wow.
At least.
Times.
Yeah, over.
I thought you were a good defensive fighter.
Yes, but when you're sparring, you're going to catch shots.
Yeah.
I mean, over the course of all the years. And look, here's what I used to do.
You're at about 500 now.
500. Yeah, I mean, look, Phil is a good coach. For people that don't know, Phil is my boxing coach, right?
Yep,
so Phil is a good coach, right?
He's a great coach.
He's a great coach.
Yeah.
Builds you up from the bottom up, right? Starts with your legs and your feet all the way up to your hands. But another thing that Phil does, like, give you an example, like how I learned to swim. The way that I learned to swim was my uncle comes to me one day. He goes, "Van, can you swim?" I go, "No." He goes, "Okay, let's go." And we go to a pool, and he throws me into the water.
I don't like that.
And I look up, and all I see is a cigarette hanging out of her mouth, and somebody laughing. Look at him, and
How old were you?
7. And at that particular point, after a while, he just comes in and he gets me. He goes, "Okay, well, you felt all the fear now. Now you gotta learn how to float. You know that you didn't die." That's basically what Phil does.
Yeah, but some people have fallen in and died. They
Some
didn't know
of
how
them
to
did.
swim.
Some of them did, but that's what Phil does. Like Phil, you box for a while, and Phil goes, "Okay, we're gonna spar." All right, I'm like, "All right, cool." And then you get into the ring. For me, my first sparring was with Carlos, right? Like I get into the ring, and the bell rings. You get in there, you start moving around, and he moves a little bit, and then all of a sudden, he knocks the hell out of you. He hits you in your head, and you go, "Oh,
That's not too good.
You go, "I remember. I'm in a boxing ring." And this, because me and Phil just dancing around, doing that. And I know I'm in a boxing ring. And from then on, it's real. And like every single person that I've talked to about Phil training them, they go, "Do you know at some point, like, like Phil walks up to you, he goes, 'Okay, do you want to take a fight? Do you want to actually?'" And these are like celebrity types that Phil is trying to get them to start boxing.
Well, you know what?
careers.
It's his instinct because he's actually a real boxing coach.
Yeah.
With top 10 champion
Sure.
level fighters, and it's just an instinct. I'm sure Phil comes back. We got to put this to use. After you train these people, it gets probably frustrating for him. He wants to see you apply that on somebody.
Well, yeah, I'd love to see you actually be proud of yourself in a way.
Just true.
Hey man, I had a fight. I want another one now. Well, how do you feel where you're at now from that first day you boxed with Carlos?
Completely different. I think the first day, when you first get in there, especially coming from where I'm from, and this is the thing that people don't understand about boxing or any type of combat sport, is people always say when you're in there, they go, "Okay, you're really against yourself," and then you go, "Bullshit, right? There's another guy in there, and he's doing," but you are, like, once you get in there and you're in front of somebody else, you're trying to figure out how to do what it is that you can do. Like, it's about you. It's about it's
a war of wills.
It's right.
Yeah.
And so the first thing that I was trying to do inside there with Carlos, I wasn't trying to win. I was trying to make sure that he understood that I wasn't afraid to fight. And so when he hit me,
oh, that's good.
yeah, like hit me, bang back. Like, I wasn't afraid to fight.
Because being a professional fighter, that's the first thing I try to find out is if people are going to have a natural instinct to do one of two things. One is they get hit and then they just start running all of a sudden. They get hit and then they say, okay, they fire back. Even no matter if it's a sloppy punch or whatever. You've seen it happen in here, right? Some of these young kids, they're just chunking bombs at me.
Van's like that.
And I you know.
When you get hit, you want to kill a guy.
Right.
No, but
we have to just.
But I like that because that's
That's good. That's good.
Right. Not that you want to be a pro fighter, but there is not a pro fighter who ever became successful that didn't have that instinct.
Right.
That when they get hit or when they get pressured, they fire back.
Killer instinct.
That to me means finishing a guy. You know, because they used to say I was a good finisher. Yeah, but some guys let him off the hook. Like, you stun a guy and you just don't realize it, or you.
You're not supposed to do that.
Well, a lot of boxing trainers told me that I had good killer instinct. Like, I'm a good finisher. That's what they would say.
Yeah.
You're good because once I stun guys, I never back out, and I don't do what other guys do. I know guys will throw a right hand, and then they'll try to hit him with a hook. If I hit him with a right hand, I stun him, I throw another right hand. So I train myself to where I will throw the exact same punch until they block it. Then the left hook will come. But you could see my very last fight, I throw 6 right hands and the guy went down. I don't think I threw another hook in there. It was just boom, boom, boom. And even while he was going down, I got 2 more. And I tell people, I always get 2 to grow on.
Nah.
He was going down, so I hit him with an uppercut. The uppercut got his chin out enough for me to turn over again one more time. I went boom, boom, and
that was your last fight.
That was my very last fight. Yeah, I threw 6 unanswered punches at the end.
Oh, I thought your last fight was when you knocked the guy out with.
Well, that's what it was. It was all 6 right hands, though.
Oh, but it was like no time left the last round.
Well, there was 4 seconds left.
4 seconds left. Wow.
Yeah, but I told that, and the Holyfield just burst out laughing, because the truth is, that never happened. If you fight a guy 10 rounds, and I had a broken rib, and you haven't even stunned him once in those 10 rounds, he was a good fighter. He probably was a record of 47-8 or something. You know, decent winning pro guy, and quite a bit younger than me. And you're not going to knock him out with 4 seconds on the clock. That doesn't happen. If it was written in a script and they gave it to me, I'd never make that movie. I'd say nobody's going to buy that.
You know. Speaking of you sparring, you remember the first time you boxed with Don?
I don't remember the first time. I remember one time.
You remember one time?
Yeah, I remember the first time I sparred with him. But
we sparred several times.
We sparred a lot. Yeah,
we sparred quite a few times.
Yeah, didn't it get kind of a little dangerous at one point?
Let me tell you something.
Oh, I was talking to Phil about that. Yeah, no, that was the last time, and it was because you were so good. I turned I'm thinking like you James Tony. I'm gonna go. I can unload some bombs.
Fuck all that.
I apologize.
Let me tell you guys what happened. Yeah. Like, guys are in so many wars, right? That it's like a Vietnam vet. Sometimes it just comes out. Like, I used to be in the woods with my Uncle Charles, God rest his soul, right? And we would be hunting, and then all of a sudden you look over, and Charles would be crawling on his belly with his rifle like this.
Flashback.
And as a kid, I would be like, seriously, this is real. Like, we in the woods hunting deer, and all of a sudden you look over and he's like this with his gun, and I'm like, yo, what's going on? And Dad's like, hey, get to the car. All right, let me talk to him. Get out of here. All right. So one day, what happened was, it became 1986 for Don.
Yeah.
And I'm on the road. I'm boxing. I have no headgear on. And all of a sudden, Don just whacked me. And then, by the way, you would think that after he whacked me and then he came in, no, it was like 60 seconds. It was go time. And then I was like, I looked at Phil.
Yeah, Phil jumped in and said,
"Hey,
wait a minute,
get my headgear." Like, what's going on?
There's no.
What's going on with Don?
Flashback.
You had a flashback.
Yeah, I think I hadn't been in the gym a long time myself, and I wasn't in good shape. And I'm much more dangerous when I'm out of shape. I'm liable to put more. I'm better if I'm used to coming in and working out every day and running and I just relax in the ring. But because I was out of shape, because I was kind of disoriented, and like you said, I was a pro fighter for 28 years.
Yeah.
And believe in sparring then, I never pulled a punch. If I could have knocked out J.B. Williamson when I sparred him, or Henry Tillman, I would have, and they would have done me, because that's what pros do.
Right.
If James Toney could hit you, he's going to hit you, and when you get down on the ground, he'll help you up and pat you on the back and everything. But it's pro. The etiquette of a pro is we don't baby each other. You're a pro fighter, but you're not. You're not training for some fight, so it was a flashback.
Really well. You know what I thought it was?
Training for a fight.
I am trying, but I thought you
but
were
not a professional career.
No.
I thought you were trying to catch a big fish. I thought you were like, yo. I thought you were.
You're a big guy. You look like pros that I fought.
There was this big Negro in the ring today, and I just smacked the hell. I felt good about it. I thought you may be MAGA.
No.
Like, I thought you were MAGA or something like that. Like, why it done?
I spar the women in here usually. I don't spar big guys that I can throw punch. Now, what if I threw a punch like that at a woman?
Right.
Oh my God!
Depends on the woman. It's like one.
No, he's got tough girls in here. They
does.
jump right in my face, don't they? He's got some tough women. But I just mean, I shouldn't have let myself go a little bit. And normally I don't. I don't hardly ever.
Well, it was a great lesson for Van, man.
No, I mean,
it was great.
The thing that I love about
you had to face it at some point.
The thing that I love about being in here is that, first of all, it's not the first time that's happened. Like Carlos and it's
opened up a little bit.
Yeah, and I've opened up on guys, and you hear Phil, hey yo, cool it. You know what I mean?
Yeah, because he can tell right off.
Right, but the thing is, we get in there, we hit each other, we box, we get it. After that, it's gravy. You know what I mean? Like it is kind of what it is.
It's not a fight for me. Like people say, well, you get mad. I said, I've never been mad in the ring. I don't get mad. Now, okay, I want to say never. There was one guy who headbutted me on purpose.
You're mad then.
I was pissed off. I end up knocking him out, of course. I unloaded a lot of adrenaline.
Was that in a real fight or in the
No, it was a real
gym?
fight. Real fight.
Were you champ of the world?
He bit. Yeah, I was. But he bit my ear. But this is before Mike Tyson was biting ears.
Right.
And blood's coming out and everything. And even the ring doctor came over and he gave me a tetanus shot or something. I don't know what. But he was worried about infection and stuff because he said it's nasty. The mouth is nasty. And I just sometimes I and not only rarely would I slide into chunking bombs at anybody in here. And now, if you pay me money, I'm going to throw some bombs. But all pros should say, no, I have to get paid to do my big stuff. Everything else is just training, and that's it.
You got to train.
Just
you got to do
training.
some of the big stuff in training, especially if you're getting ready for a big fight.
If I'm training with James Toney, yeah.
Yeah, well, if you're getting ready for a real important fight, you got to be.
And I mentioned James
prepared
Toney
for
because if you go on YouTube and you watch his sparring, he beats the living crap out of people.
Yeah, he beats that a lot of guys.
He shows no mercy. So I and Pat knows James Toney. He's come to my locker room when I've had exhibitions here in LA, and he brings out the competitive. Like I'd like to.
He talks a lot of shit, man.
He does, but he's just a little too big for me now. When he was a middleweight in the beginning,
Sure,
like me. I was a middle.
Yeah.
Then he went to the light heavyweight.
Hey, if you were allowed to kick him, how long would it last?
No, probably 4 or 5 rounds. He's a pretty tough guy. I know he may not take
Even
it.
if you were allowed to kick him?
Yeah,
5 rounds?
but look, I fought a top 10 boxer. His name was Art Jimerson. He had fought Dennis Andres, went the distance with him, lost a decision. And his trainer comes up to me, is going to kickboxing versus boxing. I signed a contract for 10 boxers. The last one was going to be Hearns, they said.
What year was this?
Mid-'80s, like 85, 86.
Yeah, they were doing it then.
It was boxer versus kickboxing. So here's what happens. His trainer goes, hey, I don't mind those leg kicks. He goes, kicking below the waist. He said, but only 4 per round. And I looked at him, I said, Okay, gentlemen, the rules are I could have thrown 20 at his legs. But I said, okay, I'll only throw 4. Because by round 4, I've hit him in the exact same spot with my shin 16 times. And he lasted till the 6th round. Then they threw the towel in. And then they canceled his airline reservation the next day because he couldn't walk in the airport.
I've seen
and
this.
he's just said, his name is Art Jimerson. And the fight, you watch it on YouTube.
Yeah, I remember him.
It's
He
on
was
YouTube.
a light heavyweight, right?
Light heavyweight. But here's what I would do. And this is a Thai boxing. It's like kickboxing 101. You hit the leg, then you fake the leg, and the reaction is like this, and then you go to the back of the head, not the front of the head. Because boxers can see, right? The foot comes around the shin, hits the back of his head. And I dropped him with that shot. Boom, to the back of the head. And he was bleeding out of the back of his head. So his trainer's trying to wipe it up, and it takes a towel and throws it down. But it's totally legal in kickboxing. He just didn't realize,
Kicking the back of the head?
Yeah,
Don,
totally legal.
Don, how much do you like hurting people? You know that that was Christmas morning. You just talked about kicking a man in the back of his head.
Yes, and there's no padding there.
And you're like, they can't see it. I love it. And so,
but I like I become friends with my former opponents. There's no animosity.
The dude you kicked in the head?
Yes, yeah, we're friends. People become friends.
That's because he can't remember who you are.
No. I have no ill feelings for, I don't get a hate for my opponent. I'm not Conor McGregor chasing people with trash cans and out of the ring and all.
But after it's over though, he does all of that stuff. It was never the only time in a fight that the energy stayed the way it was pre-fight with Conor was against Khabib, because that whole
Khabib jumped out and got
Khabib. Khabib actually hates McGregor.
Look, they insult each other. And I've talked to other kickboxers because we never did that.
Right.
They insult each other. They talk about their religions. They talk about their wives, their
Your dad is a terrorist, all of that stuff.
And they build a lot of animosity. And you know what? That's a championship wrestling thing. They learn that's how you promote the fights. You just all this insulting. And look, it works. But I'm not comfortable with it. I never did it. I'm a martial artist. We bow. We show respect. And my opponents, I said, listen, I've seen the guy. He's a great fighter. I'm going to do my best, and may the best man win. And that's not very interesting, though. That's not if championship wrestling did that, nobody'd watch it.
Hey, in one of your championship fights, I know you fought all over the world.
Yeah.
If the guy you were fighting started getting really loud and insulting and threatening to you verbally, how do you react?
Well, normally I didn't react emotionally, but I did on this one guy. I was coming out of retirement, and this was on Viewer's Choice, by the way. And
is that like pay-per-view?
Yeah, it was the biggest pay-per-view in the world at the time. They did the Tyson Holyfield fights, but we're in front of a live audience of thousands of people, and he says, "This is not a movie," because I was doing movies by then. And this was in 1999. I'm going to fight the guy in Lowell, Massachusetts, where he's from. So it's his audience. It's just thousands of people, but they're all the Massachusetts people. They're his people. And he says, "This ain't no movie." And so I get the microphone. It's the only time I said anything insulting. I said, "Well, you know what? When we fight, you're going to wish it was a movie because you're going to be my leading lady." And the whole crowd, the whole crowd started laughing. And I looked at him, and it was like somebody gut punched him.
Right.
Ali could do that. Ali said stuff. He called, what's his name? Oh, gosh, Shavers, the acorn. He goes, "You bald-headed acorn head," or whatever. And he kind of disoriented his opponents by insulting them and jerking around and saying that stuff. So because I saw him, and I never knew that. I never tried that, but it does have a little effect on some people. Some people, the things you say, they get mad or they get upset or they get embarrassed. Or it never worked on me, though. I never was emotionally negative to my opponents. To me, they were just targets. I had zones I could hit, and I was determined to hit them.
How about if you had to face Steven Seagal in the ring?
Please. First of all, I've met him twice, and he's been very nice and polite and very respectful and friendly.
Doesn't he fight?
And it was both times we were eating at restaurants. Now, one was we were on CBS lot, and we were the guests of a they had some charity event there. And so he's eating. He's just like, he's eating. You know, they're bringing trays and he's just eating like he's on a weight gaining program. He's 6'4", but he's way overweight and he quit wearing clothes. Now he just wears a smock.
Yeah.
It's like a big old. And so anyway, that's one time. Then the other time it was they had an MMA event that they served a big dinner to for all the guests. You know, I mean, and everybody has gone to this, like me, Mel Gibson, Dolph Lundgren were together, Frank Stallone sat at my table when I was there. They serve you a dinner and you watch MMA fights. I should have been joking. I said, okay, we got a good chance of cigars coming because they're serving a lot of food here. And sure enough,
he popped up.
Here he comes. He'll come to the fights if you feed him while he's there. And you look.
How about if you fought Van Damme? Claude?
See, he knows how to get. You mean Jean-Claude Van Damme? Look. Everybody in the martial art community knows that I've had a thing about Van Damme because of this, though. Nothing about his movies. I love him.
You had a thing about him?
We have a thing going on that the whole martial arts community has known for years. That's why I had a fight offer. I'll tell you what it was. He comes out here and he does a movie called Bloodsport. Now, actually, that movie was offered to Chuck Norris, but Chuck said he was done with those kind of shirts-off fighting movies. He's going to do action. So Van Damme gets the script. He does Bloodsport. Now, Roger Corman, a low-budget producer, sees it and says, hey, I want to do rip-off for that. So he gets Blood's Fist, and he sees on Van Damme's poster, it says, undefeated world middleweight champion, kickboxer, Jean-Claude Van Damme. So Corman has his casting agent calls up the Karate magazine and says, hey, are there any world champion kickboxers in L.A.? Sure enough, I was. So I went in, got the part. So Van Damme had this put on all his posters, undefeated middleweight champion. And I will say this, he is undefeated. When you've never had a fight, you got no losses on your record.
Wow.
Go on YouTube and look for Van Damme's 12-round fights, because we fight 12 rounds in kickboxing. And he's never had a fight. To my knowledge, he's never had a pro fight at all, let alone be in the top 10, let alone be a world undefeated middleweight champion. And so I out him. People ask me, and I just tell them the truth. I don't badmouth them. I'm just telling the truth. To my knowledge, never had a pro fight.
Have you approached them for a fight?
A year ago, a Russian guy who owned one of these oligarchs, billionaires, owns a huge stadium. And that's when me and Costas Zoo were together. We were the guests there. And he said he had heard through, I guess, other martial artists that me and Van Damme had a thing. He said, I'd be willing to put up a $1 million guarantee for you if you can get Van Damme to fight here in my stadium. And I talked to his guys, and they approached Van Damme probably that month soon, and they came back and they said he will not fight.
So you're saying that Van Damme is scared to fight you?
Oh, without a doubt.
It's I don't want to say fear, but it's like this: me fighting Van Damme is like Tyson fighting Stallone. No, it's the same. One plays a great boxer in the movies, and he looks good.
So Van Damme, Van Damme is then not a good martial artist, is what you're saying?
No, he's a good martial artist. He can do martial arts. He can defend himself against untrained people and stuff. He's just not a world champion kickboxer. I mean, it's a sport. It's a sport where, I did it for 28 years. So, knowledge and experience has value. I'm a pro fighter.
How many champions have you fought?
Well, I won 11 titles, and I fought several undefeated other champions that were world champions considered. Because, there were 4 different rule sets in kickboxing. You can use the elbow, sometimes you can use your knees. So, I'm the only one that fought and won titles in all of them. All the styles they had. And if they had MMA, I would have done that. Because I was a collegiate wrestler, and I would have just learned submission, and I would have gone right, felt comfortable on the ground. But they just didn't have it in my day, And I've had people approach me, and I've said yes to the fights. But one was Dana White. He approached me to fight in the UFC, and it was a guy he claimed was the greatest pound for pound mixed martial artist in the world. His name was Matt Hughes. He's about 5'5" or something. He was a high school wrestler. I think I could beat him wrestling, but he throws a Superman punch, jumps up in the air. Now, you know enough to know if somebody comes in here 5'5" and jumps up in the air, tries to hit you with a right hand, he's going to run into about 4 punches right on his chin.
So you're saying you could beat Matt Hughes now?
No, well, not now, because he had an accident. Actually, I don't want to call it. He got hit by a train.
Oh Jesus.
Yeah. Well, and he's alive though.
By a train.
A train. Yeah, I think his car was crossed. Yeah.
Oh,
you can just Google it. A
Oh,
train.
I do remember this.
A train.
Right.
And he survived it, but he's not all together anymore. But so this was way before. This was right after he beat Joyce Gracie. If you remember Joyce Gracie and him.
Wow, this is a long time ago.
Yeah, yes. I just happened to be in Vegas for something else. And a guy comes up to me and he says, Mr. Wilson, I want to tell you right off the bat, I'm in Matt Hughes' camp, but I've got an offer from Dana White for you to fight Matt Hughes. So he gives me the number, and I as soon as he says that, I stick my hand out, and it's done. I'm in.
How old were you?
This was some time ago. It was right after his fight with Joyce Gracie, so I don't know what year that was. You probably could just Google Joyce Gracie.
Were you
Matt
in your
Hughes.
40s or
He
something?
beat Joyce Gracie, by the way. Joyce was the former guy winning the UFC.
Oh, Joyce was
but Matt,
man in the UFC for many years.
Well, his brother was the matchmaker, so he picks the right guys. There's nothing wrong with that.
But
That's
Gracie
the way it works.
was an animal, though.
No, he was, but not. Look, the sport passed him by. He couldn't go out there and dominate.
Well,
the
I mean,
sport.
what happened
Nobody
was
knew submission.
Nobody knew how to do it
He
at
can't
first.
crack an egg with a punch or a kick.
Right, but when
he first started,
jiu-jitsu, nobody really knew.
And they picked guys who didn't. Because here's what happened. The reason why Joyce Gracie quit the UFC was because I used to be the announcer. They asked me, the very first one they asked me to announce, and I said, what are the rules? And when they told me, I said no.
Right.
So they did 2 of them, and they come up to me on the third one. They go, now will you do it? We got these numbers. You see how we're making millions of dollars on pay-per-view. And I said, no, because I can make more money if I throw a guy in a swimming pool fighting a shark, but I don't want to announce that.
Right.
I said, it's too dangerous. They said, well, Mr. Wilson, come and watch it yourself. Because I hadn't actually watched them. I just heard that there were no weight divisions. Well, what if I told you the rules were bare knuckle, no weight division? So you get a guy 160 pounds against a guy 300 pounds.
Right.
It just sounded too dangerous. But I went to the third one, and guess what happened? He quit on that one. He fought a guy named Chemo, and he got tired.
I remember Chemo.
He finally submitted him, but he looked at this kid, big, because I'm sitting the ringside seats at that time. I'll tell you who the celebrity guys were. It was me, Frank Stallone, and John Milius, and Gary Busey.
Right.
We were considered celebrities. But now that Trump goes to watch UFC now. I mean, the UFC's a little, they get $40 million a show. Well, I'm friends with Randy Couture and all these guys, and the reason why everybody leaves is because this guy, he's a despicable guy. This Dana White. When I said I'd fight him for the amount, he sent the contract. It was a little over half. And I said, hey, that's not my agent calls me because I don't have a fight manager anymore. I'm 65 years old. I have my agent. My agent's looking at the contract. He goes, well, it doesn't say the right number. And I'll tell you the numbers because they're not big numbers. They're not retirement for me. $75,000 to fight Matt Hughes. He sends a contract. It was a weird number too. It was like $47,500. So my agent says, well, I said, call him up. So my agent says, well, I thought it was $75,000. He said, yeah, but you know what? We don't think it's that interesting a fight. So I gave him a little less. I'll offer a little less. Because basically, if you've ever read The Art of Negotiations, if you accept the first offer, they know they could have got you for less. At least that's what it's supposedly telling people. So he's just assuming he could have got me for less. But to me, the reason I didn't do the fight is it's disrespectful. When we shake, and I shook on the matchmaker, I said, yeah, $75,000, I'm in.
Who's out there now that you would fight? How about
MMA? I don't even watch MMA.
No, not even
now.
just anybody. Like, would you fight Mickey Rourke?
I like Mickey Rourke. I've been friends with him. He's one of the first guys that I got friends with because we had the same boxing trainer, Bill Slayton.
Yeah, I trained at that gym too.
Yeah, Watts, down in Watts.
Yeah, Broadway
gym, right?
You say that Dana White is despicable. Why?
Because he offers one thing. Well, this is what he did to me. Now, what he does for other fighters is just as bad because they complain about him. Randy Couture and even Chuck Liddell, they all leave him eventually. But because he had his guy shake on an offer, and then he came back with less money.
Do you think he treats the guys in the UFC fairly? Do you think?
No. I'll tell you what they're doing. They're not, in the eyes of Dana White, because I've gone through this with kickboxing promoters, they're not making the mistake boxing is. Now, you know what that mistake is? Here's the mistake. If Don King promotes Mike Tyson fighting Holyfield, here's what he does. He charges $45 a ticket. They get 2 million buys. They got $90 million. Tyson gets $30 million, Holyfield takes 30, and Don King takes 30. Now that sounds pretty fair to me, right? Here's what Dana White does. He gets $40 million for the UFC shows. This is what I heard that they were averaging. $40 million, and he pays Randy Couture $750,000 to defend his title. $500,000. Still a good chunk of change to me, being a kickboxer. My biggest purse was $150,000.
Right.
But they don't quote want to make the mistake boxing did, where, and they sign him with contracts, so you can't fight.
It's a league, right?
Yes, it's the way promoters justify it is they say, well, it's like the NFL. If you want to be in the NFL, you got to accept our rules. These are all our rules. Because they're the only game in town. But the NFL is not boxing or kickboxing. We're all individuals. It's not a team sport. They try to do it in kickboxing. They try to get us to sign contracts with these sanctioning bodies. And I'm one of the guys who stopped it because I was one of the most popular fighters. And I said, no, this is not good for the athletes. We should be able to fight anywhere in the world we want for any other association we want. We shouldn't be locked into what was called at the time the PKA. It was they had this contract with ESPN. By the way, I got in the contract because I was the first fight on ESPN, 1979. And after that fight, ESPN saw it and they said, okay, they signed a contract where they would show one every week.
He remembers all these years, these places where he fought, but he can't remember five words.
The 5 words that were on the thing, yeah.
On the thing.
It's interesting.
I did remember them, and I did pass it.
Well, you made a whole story about it.
Well, no, I'm just the story wasn't that I'm not Donald Trump proud that I passed it. He's proud he passed that
Cognitive thing.
Yeah. He's bragging about it.
Right.
So when you were 40 years old, you still had good skill, right?
Yeah, but I wasn't really actively fighting. I was doing up to.
Well, how were you at 40 compared to now?
I did 5 movies in 13 months. So I was doing movies then. When you're doing 5 movies and you're doing the pre-production, you're shooting it, then the post-production, editing the fight scenes. And then I also used to, those were the video days. My films are not theatrical films, they're video films in the 90s. And I would go on a tour for 1 month each movie. I'd visit all the video stores, sign an autograph. Not every single one, but there'd be a chain like Blockbuster.
You do it in store.
But Blockbuster has 3,000 stores.
Right.
I wouldn't go to 3,000 stores. I'd go to like 6 of them or whatever. And it was ball busting work. Being a full time actor. It wasn't like a TV series where you work for X amount of months and then you're off the rest of the year. I would do movie.
Were you like champ of the world at the same time? When
No,
you were doing movies?
I retired in 1990, my second time.
Did you retire a champion?
Yeah. No, I never lost the title. I never lost the title in the ring. I gave up my titles.
Vacated.
Well, there's another word other than vacated. I don't even know what the word is. But I would, they...
retire for a little while. So.
Well, it retired.
You're still not retired, right?
No fighter's retired until you quit offering them money. And the proof of that is Tyson and Holyfield, or Tyson and Roy Jones. I mean, there's your proof right there. And even Mayweather. He was 47 when he fought Conor, but he made $200 million.
Was he 47?
47. He's way past Mayweather.
I don't think he was that.
No.
old.
You don't think so?
I don't think he's 47 now. I don't think he's that old. I think he's born.
He
in
might have been about
77.
40, maybe, or
42.
30.
Yeah, 42, something like
Let's
that.
check that though, because I just remember maybe he was 47 last year when I saw him, because we were at the president of Chechnya's birthday party, and we saw some fights. And then we went to the birthday party. Me and Mayweather and Mark Dacascos. He's an actor.
Mark Dacascos from
John
John Wick.
He just finished the John Wick thing. And he told me, he said, "Don, man, it was so much fun." He goes,
He can still get it. I liked him. I always liked him. He was in. So look, he was in. I'll tell you the movie I liked that he was in. He was in the Capoeira movie.
Yes,
where he was teaching the kids how to do
What was that?
capoeira.
Was it Never Back Down?
It's called
or was
Only
it?
the Strong.
Only the Strong.
And he was doing the.
And that's not his thing. He learned that for the
movie.
He studied it.
Years and years I thought that it was, and then I was
he started
he doesn't even know how to do it.
His father is Al Dacascos. It's Kung Fu is their style. That's what it was, Kung Fu. Yeah.
Remember Ernie Reyes Jr.?
Yep.
Good
I
martial
trained-
I
artist.
worked with him
him.
in the movie.
Oh, did you?
Ninja Turtle?
Yeah,
Was
yeah, He was a Ninja Turtle.
Yeah,
he was
yeah.
a Ninja Turtle.
He was
a
one.
Ninja
He
Turtle.
was
He
one of
was-
my first clients, and he said something about.
He actually was
He was doing Ninja Turtle.
skateboarding pizza guy, I think, right?
Didn't he
Yeah,
have a
well,
famous? He had
he
a
was so-
famous father, right?
So yeah, his father was Ernie Reyes, and so
Ernie Reyes,
he
yeah.
was in the Ninja Turtles, and then he was in Ninja Turtles 2. They gave him a role.
He fought The Rock in a movie.
He did.
Yeah,
And,
that was a great scene.
Yeah, he did. That
Man.
movie was called, I can't remember. It was The Rock and Christopher
know,
Walken, and they come to the jungle, and he's fighting around with jumping around with The
Flying
Rock.
around, yeah.
And by the way, he was in The Last Dragon. Like he was a kid doing this stuff. You remember The Last
Yeah.
Dragon? Yeah. You remember
I
The Last
actually
Dragon?
worked on
I've
this.
not heard of
Last
it. I
Dragon?
don't know if I've seen it.
I did a movie with Ernie. We did just one scene together.
Which
though.
one, junior or senior?
No, the little one, the guy that
Oh.
fought The Rock. He has had some health problems. It was like
Yeah, he did just
some
recently.
kidney or
issue.
some.
Yeah.
Okay, and but there was no fighting for him, and I think I threw a few kicks against the bag. But
The
it was a
Rundown is
comedy.
the name of the Rock movie.
Yeah, The Rundown.
Yeah.
It was The Rock. Yeah. Yeah.
Rundown.
I love The Rock, man. That guy's one of the best because he could do the action, but he's actually funny. He could do comedy. Who's the guy? The little guy that he works with is
Kevin Hart.
Kevin Hart. Man, those two together are
Kevin
great.
Hart. That's so funny.
They are great.
Yeah, one of the biggest stars in the world. The little guy that works with The Rock.
Well, everybody's little that works with The Rock. If
That's
I worked
very
with
true.
him, I'd be the little Asian guy that worked with The Rock.
275
Yeah, I didn't mean that as now. Kevin Hart is not 6'4", but still.
Oh, he's 5'5". He's a little guy.
But I meant. Kevin, if he ever sees this, is I myself would be the little Asian guy if I worked with The Rock. I mean, who wouldn't?
So when I always wondered this about the martial arts movies, right? Because I saw a tape of there's a martial artist. I can't remember the guy's name now. It's a black guy, played Spawn. What was his name?
Michael J. White.
Michael J. White.
I got him a SAG card,
yeah.
by the way.
Exactly.
I got him a SAG card.
Michael J. White.
He's
Love him,
starting out.
right?
He's great.
Love him. Like
Great guy.
He
great
did
guy.
Mike Tyson too.
That's
didn't he?
right.
Tyson.
That's
Michael
right.
J. White.
Yeah.
And
He did great.
And he did fantastic. I love that movie.
He changed his whole body too. You know, when I met Mike used to be a skinny guy, and I think he got on some other things. But things. Well, listen, he got on. So all of a sudden he blew up when he was there. But listen, that was the big break for him. I mean, he had to put that weight on, put it on fast, and it had to be all muscle.
So he did a
And-
Tyson film, just like
Yeah,
Jamie
HBO,
Foxx is
it
doing
was for
one, right?
They did
HBO.
it was for
It's
HBO.
HBO, yeah.
So it could be similar.
Is,
I mean, maybe
is
it was-
Jamie doing one?
Jamie Foxx is
playing
doing Mike
It's
Tyson.
coming out pretty soon. The HBO Mike Tyson movie though was interesting because it's an interesting cultural moment because Mike Tyson had just ended a contract with HBO, and he had gone to Showtime, and they didn't do a biopic about Mike Tyson, which basically was
Not
like
too flattering?
a fuck you to Mike Tyson.
But I mean, it was not.
no, not at all. I mean,
I don't remember it. I remember when it happened, and that Michael did a great job.
It was
Because
a
I did
good
watch it.
movie. I mean, I loved it. Like
Yeah.
it had, I think it was
I gotta watch that.
Paul
I don't
Williams as
remember.
Don
it.
King.
Well, you know, Tyson wasn't the nicest guy all the time. You know,
Talking about Mike Tyson?
yeah,
Yeah, I've heard.
He fought out of the ring. You know, I think he beat up like guys
Green.
that park your cars, or one of these valets one time or
See,
something.
I always like to hear.
it's just-
I always wonder about that.
It might be steroids because there's a thing, steroid rage, where they just can't hold themselves in. They just lose their tempers.
My thing is, I hear stories like that, and you know, the one thing that doesn't make me believe the stories about Mike Tyson beating up a valet is because isn't that valet dead? If Mike Tyson, if you're just the
Yeah, that's true,
valet,
that's true.
if you're just the valet and Mike Tyson beats you
But
up,
maybe
aren't
he
you
just
dead?
slapped him.
Maybe smacked his
Yeah,
face.
yeah.
Give him a little checkup. Give me a little tighten
He
up.
didn't hit him with the Tyson right cross.
No, right, exactly.
Because we know what happened to him. Because, people ask me what would have happened if I fought Tyson. I said, he'd just bowl right over me.
Mm-hmm.
I would try to throw a kick. It wouldn't work because he's too fat. When he was 21 years old, that's his prime.
Yeah, 21.
21,
Won
22.
the title at 19.
Man,
oh, no,
because,
at
here's
20.
what I say.
20.
And look, there's somewhat truth to this. There's two Mike Tysons. Pre-Robin Givens and post-Robin Givens.
Now you're gonna blame the woman.
Now,
Why you gonna
listen,
blame
it's just his
the
whole?
woman?
It was just. That's when it all went. Look, she and her mother brought on Don King. All of a sudden, you see him with Don
Yeah,
King.
yeah, I was gonna
And
say
then they got the
pre-Don King, and-
then they got the white guys out of the corner, and and Vince, or not the one guy died.
Cusimano,
Gus,
yeah.
but he had some other guy in this.
Kevin
brought him
Rooney.
up, Kevin
Kevin
Rooney.
Rooney.
Then he taught him all this stuff, and
he was good for him.
And he lost that, and then guys started hitting Tyson because the most impressive thing to me about looking at Mike Tyson is when he was young, up and coming,
was defensively sound.
Nobody could land a glove on him.
Yeah.
Look, he's fighting guys 6'6".
And
And I know what
he's
if you
beating
got a 6'6" guy, you said, listen, man, we're gonna work the jab. You're gonna just pop him and pop him, and they would go to hit him with the jab, and he would go and they hit his head of his head right on their chest. He not only could they not hit him with their big guns, they couldn't hit him with the jab. His head was impossible to hit when he was young, Mike Tyson. Then
I'll tell you something.
he fought the guy whose mother died that week.
Buster Douglas.
Buster
and he
Douglas.
put the jab on his ass.
And well,
for
first of all, nobody thought that was the fight, like 40 to 1 or something like that. The
it was
odds.
crazy. Biggest upset ever.
Nobody thought he was going to win. Tyson, you don't train the same. He did not train hard for that fight. I guarantee.
Oh, no, of
he
course
couldn't
not.
get
This
himself.
is famed. Yeah.
So
He didn't even have
he
it was in Japan
thinks-
swills. They had to use rubber.
He thought
balloons.
Buster Douglas would just go down in
40 to 1.
3 rounds, 4. And you know what? Predictions. You would watch Buster's other fights next to Tyson's fights, and you just say the same thing. We both sit here and say 5 rounds. And
You know, it's
he's
crazy.
gone.
I watched that fight just recently. If you watch that fight now,
I know what you're going to say.
what?
That Tyson actually won the fight.
No.
No, hold on, wait. He knocked him down. Was that you're going to talk about the
No,
knockdown?
that's not what I
right?
was going to say, but that is true. What I was going to say is that if you watch that fight, you should have known. Buster Douglas was in such great shape. Buster Douglas came in. He trained. That was his moment.
He was phenomenal.
Like Buster
It
Douglas
wasn't on a
came
lucky
in,
punch.
He completely dominated the fight. Now,
He held him. He
having
bounced
said
him
that,
back.
Thank you.
he did get knocked out though. Buster Douglas.
I don't know how long he was down.
He got knocked out.
Yeah. So you
But-
think
but
he was
He
down
could
too
have
long?
been. Put it that way. The way the judges and everybody's so crooked in boxing.
Well,
they
it's the
very
referee.
easily-
It would have been the referee. The judges
Yeah,
are
well-
sitting at the ringside. The referee either didn't.
But he
start
dominated
counting.
Mike Tyson.
Yeah.
Dominated
He didn't
him.
throw like one
It wasn't
lucky
an
punch.
upset like
No.
Oliver McCall, Hasim Rahman situation. He dominated him the entire fight with strategy, a jab, and an
He
uppercut.
tied him up on the inside.
Yeah.
He bounced him back. He snapped the jab. I mean,
That's what you got to do, man.
listen, it was his night, and Tyson wasn't in the gym working hard.
No, he was running around with all
Yes.
those sumo wrestlers and eating
Yes.
all that.
He might have been with
That was in
some
Japan, man.
It
That
was
was,
in
Yes.
Tokyo.
that was like,
He didn't think it was. Listen, I'll say this. I have lost one fight. The one fight I lost was this. I'm the number 1 contender. Now, I've won, I believe, something like 12 straight fights by knockout. I'm the number 1 contender fighting on CBS. It's all set up. I'm fighting for Bill Wallace, the former champion's world title. And they said, look, we're going to put you on a fight on ESPN as a tune-up bout, and we're going to spend the whole hour promoting the fight on CBS, because that was the contract. I was going to sign a 6-fight deal with CBS as a world champion in this PKA association. So here's what happens. They go, we're going to get you a tune-up bout, just a little, guy. His record was 9-6. That's the worst record of anybody I fought before. And when you win a world title, nobody wants to pay you to fight a guy with a 9-6 record.
Right.
But I didn't have the title yet. I was a contender. So I said 9-6 a tune-up bout. It's called. He knows what's going to happen. He's going to go out there. I'm going to play with him a little bit and knock him right out. So the bell rings, first round. And I remember what my thought was when I got hit on the chin by his right hand. My thought was, this kick is going to look good on ESPN. I'm throwing what's called a back leg roundhouse kick, which means you're standing on your front leg and your left leg's coming from the back, and he ducks down, throws the right hand, hits me right on the chin. I hit the ground without the use of my hands because my hands go like that. I'm already out. I hit, and there's blood coming out of my, it was back in the days, it was actual canvas. I'm fighting on canvas. So I get up, and I'm blinking like this, and I look at the referee, and I yelled, he headbutted me. And the referee heard that, and he got, when you think you've been headbutted and you got hit with the right hand, they don't even, because I've had him ask me, hey, where are you? What's the name of this? What city are you in? He just stopped the fight. Now, the guy comes up to me. Now his record is 10 wins, 6 losses, right? He goes, Mr. Wilson, thank you so much for this fight. He goes, I'll give you a rematch before the end of the year. And I said, he goes, but I'm going to have a few tune-up bouts myself before the rematch. So he wants to make a little money. Then he figures the next time I'm going to kick his ass. His next 3 fights, he gets knocked out 3 times in a row. Now, you'll figure out why, because everybody wants to knock out the guy who knocked Don Wilson out. I was the #1 contender. So the other fighters, which were good fighters, just all knocked him out. So now his record is 10 wins, 9 losses, and he retires.
I thought you were going to fight him at that point.
No, he's never going to. Look, when you get knocked out 3 times in a row, hang your gloves up. And he did. He never fought again.
But when you fought him...
Now, as a fighter who fought 28 years, that's the one fight I did lose. The other losses on my record is bull crap.
You didn't lose.
I mean, look.
You got robbed by the judges. They robbed you.
Look, I fought the German champion in Berlin, the Italian champion in Rome, the Thai champion in Bangkok,
home cooking.
the Swedish champion in Sweden. When you're fighting guys like that, and which I did all over...
They all went the distance?
No, I knocked those guys out. That's why I didn't have all those losses. But the losses I did get were not ones where I felt, the guy's better than me. I was dominated, let him have. It wasn't like that. I felt it was some scammy. Look, one time they stopped, it was in Chicago. There's no athletic commission. I'm fighting a guy. His manager is promoting the fight. So they give me the rules. I train by the rules. And the rules are, I'm very comfortable with. You can kick the lead leg, you can't kick the back leg, and all. And then when I get there, they say, "Oh no, there's no kicking below the waist now. We changed the rules. We had to get another sanctioning body. That sanctioning body. There's no what they call leg kicks, and I'm a leg kicker. So I'm right in the middle of a divorce with my wife, and I'm getting paid $30,000. I need that $30,000 from my attorney. I'd already promised it to her. So I'm at the weigh-ins now, the rules meeting, the weigh-ins, and I'm saying yes to, and all the other fighters are going, Wilson's taking a dive. Wilson's throwing this fight. Because the guy didn't show up for the weigh-ins. They changed the weigh-ins from 175. They said he could come in at 182. Everything was changed on me. Judging, rules. And I said yes, because I had a rematch clause anyway. So I thought, he's probably going to sneak. If he goes the distance, he's going to sneak by. So here's what happens. In the 11th round, it's a 12-round fight. The 11th round, had him on the ropes the whole time. He's out. He's stumbling around. The bell rings, and I got one more round, and I've won fights in the last round, like my last one. And I got 2 minutes. I said I'm gonna decapitate him when that bell rings, and then all of a sudden I hear this. The ring announcer goes, "Ladies and gentlemen, there has been a heart attack victim in the audience. The ring doctor must leave the ring and attend to the heart attack victim. Therefore, we are delaying the fight." And I see them smelling salts. There's no athletic commission there, so they're doing all kinds of crap. And I don't even know if his eyes were open. I couldn't see clearly if his eyes were open, but his head's he's like this. Because I had him on the ropes just the round before. So here's what happens. 3.5 minutes go by because I clocked it. They used to post it on the internet. Because they thought, look, we can show everybody this is a loss on Don Wilson's record. But no, everybody who's seen it, when you see it, you'll say, nah, Don obviously won that fight. Because they said this to me.
It's like Roy Jones in the Olympics.
No, listen, at the end of the fight, they admitted, they said, okay,
Phil.
you won more rounds than him. But in this fight, under the new association, they give half points. You won your round by half points. He won his by full points. That's why he won the decision.
Did you ever get
Split decision. No, there was no rematch. That guy's. He knows what happened. It was in the middle of my divorce. Like Pat was amazed that I even took the fight because the judge took the car away and gave it to my wife, so I had no car to go to the gym. So there are many days I didn't get to the gym. I just ran. I didn't have anybody pick me up. I didn't have any money back then, and I don't care how much money you got. When you're in the middle of a divorce, man, that money goes. And I had to pay for her attorney too, by the way.
Why did you have to pay for her attorney?
Because she didn't have any money. She never worked. That's the way it works. And look,
what do you mean that's the way it works?
That's the way it works.
That's the way it used to be. I don't know if it's like that now.
Well, listen, this was
you used to have to, if you're married, you pay
both attorneys. So I got 2 attorneys. Hers are $350 an hour.
Especially if you're a moneymaker.
And she didn't work.
And the lawyers would talk to each other to get. They just keep talking.
Right. No.
Then the bills
if they make
up.
a phone call, it's $300 an hour. But anyway, the point of it was this.
Messed up.
I paid for her attorney and my attorney to fight each other, so I didn't get a dime of that. That just went to my attorney. That was $30,000 for my attorney, and then I had to find another $30,000 for him. And well, anyway, I asked my attorney. I said, "What's going to happen?" We were not fighting over money because I would just give her any money. We were fighting over custody of my son. I felt he would be better off with me than her, and he was like a year old or something. So I said, "She's not going to get custody." I said, "I'm going to spend money. I'll do movies. I'll do fights. I'll just keep." And what ended up happening was I ended up getting custody. And that's not easy for a guy in L.A. to get custody of your son. And then my son's now 31. He's doing okay. So,
is he a martial artist?
No, but he studied martial arts. He's done a little. All my kids have done a little of it, but it's not their passion. And I'm not going to push it on them. I'm not one of those dads that says, "No, you have to do everything that I do."
Right.
You know. Because my one son, my younger son, he's 21, but I told him, if you want to play football, because I was the MVP of my high school football team, and I was the MVP of my high school basketball team. So I said, if it's football, basketball, I can help you. Track, I can help you. Those sports, I said, the only sport I can't help you with is baseball. I never played that sport because I needed glasses back then, and I never had any, so I couldn't see the ball. And the only sport he did was baseball. And he was great.
He was good.
Great.
I remember.
He hit home runs over every fence. He would hit those where they had bases are loaded. Those triples, Grand Slams, right? Over.
Yeah, you know a lot about baseball.
Yeah, I don't even know, but I remember everyone would go crazy when he would do that because they'd get up and it would just be a coincidence. He would be up to bat, and the pitchers, everybody on the field,
I knew it was coming.
And he did. He would hit them. They threw it all everywhere, thinking they'd just walk him. But he knew that too. He knew they were going to be shooting the ball outside and too low and whatever. So he was ready to move to get that ball, and he did. He was hitting, and that's the only sport he.
Hey, you remember when you wrestled?
The one that I couldn't help him with.
You remember when you played basketball and football in high school?
Yeah, well,
The reason why you played that, remember, like you said, you were the only Asian in a black and white.
They were desegregating the schools. They
Check this
closed the
out.
black school. We had Florida, which is, there's a big KKK presence there. They used to put posters up on the walls, and they claimed that they're doing God's work, separating the races. They said, they said the one most ungodly thing is a mixed race person.
Sure.
Which was me, because I'm half Asian, half white. So I am what the KKK thought was their worst nightmare. So I was like not liked by the whites, not accepted by the blacks because I'm not black.
Right.
And
Really?
I found this out though, and playing sports with them is when you sink a 30-foot jump shot. I tell people today, you could have been a green Martian that everybody loves you. The black guys would go, "Wilson, you ain't white, man. Come on, you're on our team today." Yeah. The white guys would go, "Wilson, you're not black, man. You come on our team, play." And I became the MVP of my high school football and basketball team, which is not easy because they're two different sports.
So this was after they kicked all the black guys out. Then you could be the MVP of the basketball.
No. They mixed them. Then that's when they mixed them because they didn't kick them out. They closed the black school.
Don,
and they
you
bust
expect
them.
me to believe that you was for 4 years busting all of these brothers' ass and hoop?
Let me tell you what I used to do.
Don, let's be honest.
Let's be honest,
Don.
Well, it was in the boxing ring.
It was a Remember the Titan situation.
I used to go.
They sent all the brothers away.
No. Look, I used to
and
go
that's when
to
you-
the black school when the high school was open. Because I was in junior high and I played with the high school at the black school. Look, they weren't prejudiced in that regard.
Sure.
If you want to play basketball and you got the balls to walk, because they all lived in one area. Back in I'm talking the 50s and 60s.
I get it. No.
It was segregation was legal.
Still is segregation in Baton Rouge today.
Listen, Ali won the gold medal. Mm-hmm. He wanted to eat in a restaurant. They wouldn't let him eat on that table. They said, "No, you got to go with that." So he said, "I'm a gold medalist. I did all this for this country, and they won't even let me eat in the table."
Don, there's going to be a lot of guys that went to high school with you. They're going to hear this. And they're going to be like, "You know what, Don? Come meet me on the basketball court right now." Because the Dragon
No, I will say this.
is saying that I was you're
I will say
saying
this.
you went to Booker T.
I would
Washington
say this.
High School and bust everybody ass.
No, I told people I was a gun and guard. I scored 40 points a game. I said I had no shame. I'll steal the ball from my own players if I have to.
Are there any Asian basketball players in the NBA? Has to be some.
There's no such thing.
There was guys. What are we doing? There was Jeremy Lin. There was Yao Ming. There's been some Asian basketball players.
Yao Ming.
The Chinese guy.
Yao Ming.
He's like a giant.
Is a
like
basketball
7 foot.
Hall of Famer. And there've been other guys. I think Yi Jianling played for the Bucks for a little while. There've been some Asian guys. And by the way, should say China has an amazing basketball.
They have a
league.
race of tall Chinese.
A race of tall Chinese.
Here's what they
they do. Wait.
No,
First of all,
no.
Let's say
they're slightly changed from the other ones. You know,
right.
From
what do you
steroids
call
or
it?
something?
No, it's like American Indians. They got American Indians have one strain. They're like Geronimos, and one of the other.
There's no strains. We should say
they got something.
There's
a
part,
bunch
there's
of them that are tall.
There's a part of China
Where they're tall.
where they are uncommonly tall
Yeah.
Chinese people there.
Maybe it's in the
not
water
race
or something.
strain. Okay, getting dangerously close to getting the podcast canceled in the first episode.
Yeah.
I'm saying. I'm saying
Racist podcast.
Right. I'm saying, yeah. And Yao Ming is from that region of China. And by the way, there are places like this. There's part of the Netherlands where they're tall people, Germans tall people, parts of Africa are super tall people. This exists.
Yeah.
We're not saying
probably
that
everybody's got one of those. Yeah.
nobody's saying that there's mutant Chinese people in China. Like no one's saying that. Okay, just make sure.
Look, in Beijing, 2010, me, Jackie Chan, and Jet Li were invited to go together to support a thing called the World Combat Games. So we all go there. And I'm there representing kickboxing. I'm the kickboxing ambassador. Jet Li was a wushu ambassador, and Jackie Chan is not an ambassador. He was he sang at the event. Basically, he's a singer. He can sing. I didn't know that, but Jackie Chan can sing. He got up on stage and he sang. And everybody all the Chinese were pissed at him when we were there. My interpreter said, "We don't like Jackie Chan anymore. We don't like him." And I go, "Why?" He said he did the movie with Will Smith's son. And
Karate Kid.
And the Asian, first of all, it was Kung Fu. It never should have been called, but they were playing off the original Karate Kid.
Right.
It should have been called the Kung Fu Kid. But anyway, he said in that movie they made the bad guys Chinese kids. So they were
in the country.
Yes, but they were pissed off at Jackie Chan. So they were bad.
Wait. Do you know how racist it would be if you're doing a movie that's set in China and all the bad guys still happen to be black? Or do you know how racist or any other race?
You have to ship the Americans over there.
Right, have to ship the Americans over. No, he was in a different country. You know what I mean?
You know what's weird? I spent a lot of time in Russia.
Okay.
I've never seen a black guy in Russia.
Yeah, not.
They don't live there. They don't move there or something.
Roy Jones is a what do you call it?
An ambassador for them or something?
No, he became like a legal citizen.
Well, Seagal did that. Seagal did that.
There are places where
Because
people.
He's not black though. We're talking about.
I know, but Putin is a judo black belt.
Yeah.
He loves martial arts.
So they say. But who knows? What's going to happen?
Well, I've seen him work out, and everybody he grabs goes right to
They
the
flip.
floor.
Of course. Well, you're gonna pin Vladimir Putin. Cut your head
No,
off.
you're not, man. No,
Right.
you're not, man. That guy's dangerous. He's dangerous.
Jackie Chan. I'm interested to know what you think of the movie Martial Artists, because you talk about guys like yourself. You had a bunch of fights. You're a veteran, a combat veteran.
Yeah, I'm a real professional fighter.
Or a
I'm
professional
kickboxer.
fighter.
Yeah.
But then there are guys like Donnie Yen.
Yes, yeah.
And,
I love their movies. It's entertainment. It's entertainment. They,
Can those guys fight?
I believe they can defend themselves against untrained fighters. The martial arts is not really training you to fight other trained fighters. It's to train you, what I tell people, it's to fight the knucklehead on the street. Mm-hmm. The guy who wants to steal your wallet. Now, that guy's not some UFC champion. Mm-hmm. You're not going to bump into that. The odds for martial artists to fight each other are very low. Because we learn respect and we bow, and there's a lot of morality and ethics that go into the training of martial arts. You'll never get to the black belt unless you've learned all those lessons. At least that's the way it was in traditional martial arts. With MMA, you can get into a gym and they start teaching you to choke guys out and throw left hooks and right crosses. It's not as respectful. But the way martial arts is supposed to be taught, it's you learn respect first, bow to each other, and you're not. You never hear about a band of black belts taking people's wallets, right? Mugging people and stuff. It just never happens.
Well, there was this one time in Reseda in 1985 where this group of martial artists, they were dressed up like skeletons.
Oh.
And did you see that? Did you hear about that? You hear about that, Phil?
Yeah, it was in the
I'm
Karate
listening.
Kid. It was in the Karate Kid.
You shouldn't have said shit. I was gonna have Phil believing
No,
that
I
was
was
true.
thinking that. I was-
but-
I was gonna have Phil believing that there was a skeleton gang running around Reseda beating up kids from New Jersey. We was gonna talk about that. Like Phil was gonna be sending me articles about you fucked that up, Don. Next time, let me take Phil down the primrose path. Next time.
Yeah, unfortunately for me, martial arts it brings me
Serious
to
thing.
reality.
So let me, but seriously though,
we don't really teach people to do that.
The reason why I asked you that is because it's interesting. You watch the guys fight in the movies, and it's beautiful to watch.
Yeah, it's like Keanu Reeves is great. Movie fighting, right?
Right.
Keanu Reeves, I love it. But he's not he's not.
So you feel like
Well,
if you put
no.
yourself in a ring against Jackie Chan, you would beat Jackie Chan.
Oh, easily. Just knock him right out. I mean, he's never had a pro fight.
So Jackie Chan, you'd beat. Donnie Yen, you'd beat.
Yes, they're not, but it's not fair. They're not pro fighters. They've never sparred at the championship level, 10, 12 round fights.
Is there any movie guy who you feel like has the pedigree to be in a fight with you?
Well, Chuck Norris, it's just that Chuck is 76 years old, but I mean, when Chuck Norris was a fighter, Chuck Norris and I were the only ones that were famous as fighters before we ever did movies. We did the movies secondary just to pick up a little cash. These other guys, their whole thing was the movies. We wouldn't be talking about Jackie Chan if he had never done a movie.
You met Chuck Norris when you were fighting, right? He used to be a fan of yours.
Yes, he came to my fights. He worked corner for me. He announced my fights.
And he helped you get your acting career.
No.
Right?
He just suggested I do it. And look, when I was in Florida, around people that have never been in Hollywood and have never been in a movie, people would say, "Hey, you should try to be an actor," and I never paid much attention to it, right? Mm-hmm. If Marvin Hagler coming up to you and say, hey kid, you got some talent, man, I think you should think about getting into boxing, you're going to take that to heart, right? If it's Marvin Hagler or if it's Sugar Ray Leonard.
Yeah.
Okay.
Guys know what they're talking about.
Chuck Norris, the first time I met him, he said, come up to my hotel room after the fight, let's talk. So I've had the fight, we go up to his room, and he goes, Don, you should think, when you get ready to retire, come out to L.A., he goes, get an agent, get in an acting class, try to do this as a second career, martial art action movies. He said it turned out to be a great second career, and I suggest you should try it. Then I started thinking, because that's a guy he was starring in movies then. Low budget movies like mine were, independent films. Canon Films was making them.
Delton Force.
Yeah, he didn't never
King Solomon's
he
Mines.
never did his Under Siege for Warner Brothers or Good Guys Wear Black, or he never did the bigger budget stuff. He did low budget, but they were all successful. Never had a money loser. And when he suggested, I thought, hey, maybe I could. Chuck thinks I could do it. Maybe I could. So when I retired the first time, which is in 1984, I was Fighter of the Year, and everybody said, now you should retire. You're Fighter of the Year. You got no place to go but down. Eventually you're going to lose your title because, I won it in 1980, so I had held it for 4 years. So I moved out to L.A., and I found out very quickly they were not looking for 6-foot-tall Asians with Southern accents. With no Southern... Yeah, there was no jobs. I was auditioning. Nobody would ever hire me. And so I'm getting fight offers. So I thought, you know what? Maybe I can do both. I can fight and try to be an actor. And they offered me $10,000 to fight a guy in Montreal. And so I go up to Bill Slate, and I call him up. I go, hey, Bill, I got to fight 10 rounds. And he goes, how I win? I said, in 2 weeks. And he goes, well, come on into the gym. He said, we'll do the best we can. So I get in the gym, and I got my jump rope, and he goes, don't jump rope. I go, don't jump rope. He goes, nah, you're just going to break stuff down. He says, just shadow box a little bit, and we're going to just sharpen you up in the ring. And just.
How old were you at this time?
Well, this was 1985. So anyway, after being retired for 11 months, no fights, 2 weeks of training, I get in Montreal, and I'm going to fight some young guy from New York. I can't remember his name, but tall, like 6'2", younger than me, good shape. Don't know anything about him, never saw him fight or anything. And Bill comes up to me, and he's working my corner. He goes, Don, don't do anything the first round. And I go, what do you mean? He said, just what I said. Don't do anything. Just move around. Let's see what we got here. We're going to feel him out. I said, okay, so I don't do anything the first round. Now, the guy's nervous because I'm a retired champion, and I had a good reputation. He's thinking, I'm holding back. Like I've got all this and really, I'm in horrible shape. I worked out 2 weeks. Second round, Bill says, don't do anything this round. And I go, he said, just move around. Don't use any energy. So the third round, he goes, look, Bill could see something. Every time I did throw a punch or kick at him, instead of using footwork, the guy was tall. He just leaned back. Mm-hmm. So Bill says, he's wiping me down in the corner. He says, listen, crowd him, get him against the ropes. If he goes against the ropes, he's going to lean back. He said, throw that overhand right, and we'll see how he reacts to it. So the bell rings, and I get up, and I kind of crowd. They got to block a few things, because I got a little plan. Bill, he's never worked my corner for, I was a retired fighter. He's telling me I'm trying to listen to him. So I said, so I crowded him, and I saw the ropes were there, so I throw the overhand right. Hits him on the chin, knocks him right out. Mm-hmm. Third round, boom, 10 grand. Bill jumps in the ring with the towel, throws it on me, and goes, I think you can still make money in this game, man. He goes, you should come out of retirement. And, because I threw one punch and knocked the guy out.
Right. How many more fights did you have after that?
I fought until, that was in 1985.
Oh, so you fought till 1990.
I fought till 1990, retired again. Uh-huh. I had a fight and then retired. But I fought several fights. I don't know how many fights there were.
Like a lot. But you were an active pro fighter.
Yeah, you can go to DonTheDragonWilson.com, and my whole record's printed out.
Oh, wow.
Just my name, DonTheDragonWilson.com. I mean, I don't know who maintains it. Some company just maintains it or whatever. But
wait a minute. It's a site about you.
It's my name, but they somebody that I don't even know has it. I don't even have it. I don't pay for it.
Right.
I'd have looked at it to make sure it's all correct though.
Right.
I make sure there's no BS in there. But it just says DonTheDragonWilson.com, and I believe they have ads on it or something, and that's why they maintain it, man. And I don't know what they're selling. I don't even know. I haven't been on it for a while. Because you know what? I've been in the film business so long, and I've been retired since 2002 now. Nobody asks me about my fights anymore. And I tell people that, don't get hung up on your record, because 5 minutes after you're done fighting, nobody remembers your record but you. Wow. I can't go. Phil even says, what is your record? What's your 73, 5-2. But it's not. It wasn't for the record. I don't care about the record. It wasn't for those trophies. It wasn't for the little metal belts and stuff. I got a whole trophy chest in my living room, just crap full of all that stuff. And I told my wife, I said, when I die, you can sell all. We got a whole garage full of stuff that I've accumulated over. I said, tell the kids to sell it on eBay, because nothing's worth anything till you're dead anyway. Once you die, then that's it. That's the last time you can autograph a picture, and you only got so many pairs of boxing gloves that are signed that you wore in world title fights. I've got several of those. And
if they don't matter, why don't you just sell them now?
Well, I have given them to charity, and they auction them off. One pair of gloves in Kyrgyzstan, the guy paid $3,000 for them.
Wow.
Yeah, and I said to the promoter, hey, I'll sign them all night long, man. Go get a truckload of those. And he starts laughing. He goes, no, Mr. Wilson. They give $3,000 because
it's only
there's only one pair of gloves, and I signed it in the ring in front of everybody in not Kazakhstan, Kyrgyzstan. It's up in the mountains. They're right next to each other, Kazakhstan, Kyrgyzstan. And martial arts is all over the world, and the place that's probably the least popular is the one I live in, America, because it's popular all over the world. Russia, I'm
he's a global star.
Yeah, well,
big time.
Because of martial arts,
yeah. Not
because But I did fight around the world, and look, when I fought the Europeans, and outside of my country, America, I fought the best guys. And
you ever fight Ernesto Hus?
No, but I fought the guy who knocked him out twice, Branko Sikitic. Branko Sikitic fought him twice and knocked him out twice. And
who's a good fighter?
I knocked Branko out. Yeah, he was a very good fighter. And you know what? He came up to me once in England. We were in London.
We
never fought. Here's what happened.
No, I'm talking about the guy that knocked him out.
Yeah, I knocked out Branko, and Branko knocked Hus out twice. You can see him there on YouTube. Mm-hmm. And you know what? Hus was doing good, but I think he's got this some fighters can have this. Unbelievable great heart, great shape, great skills, glass jaw. Because Branko hits him once, and it's not like he hits him once, and It's like he took a nosedive to the ground, like he lost all senses.
His legs, man.
And it doesn't even look like that. But Bronco does knock guys out. Bronco's sick of it.
Yeah.
You know, he won the first K1. Bronco, the first one.
Who's won a bunch of times too? Who's won?
Yes. They call him Mr. Perfect.
Yeah, that was
his nickname because he could punch, he could kick, he was in shape.
And the thing when I first started getting into K1, the thing about it was like I hadn't watched too much kickboxing.
Listen, they're 3-round fights.
You don't like K1?
They're 3-round fights. I mean, what if you see Ali fighting Frazier? You want to see 3 rounds?
K1 was fun though. It was fun to watch.
Here's what I say: it's audience friendly.
Right.
Because you got
short, yeah.
you got 8 heavyweights, and it's promoter friendly. You got 8 heavyweights
and a tournament
and they got to win. The winner's got to win 3 fights.
Right.
So he's got to fight 3 times. Now look, that means the best man's not going to win because you might fight an easy fight, knock him out in the first round. The other guy might have a war. He might kick, and the guy blocks and hurts his ankle, and he hurts his. The other guy could have wars, and then so Ishii, who was the promoter of it, he offered me a fight with his main guy, a guy named what was his name? But he was in the Ishii style of martial arts. I can't remember his name, but he offered me a fight with the guy, and I said, I don't fight 5 rounds because 5 rounds. I'm a 10-round fighter. I said I'll fight him the same amount of money that he was offering, 10 rounds. And Ishii wouldn't do it because he promoted his fights. The K1 is this: the new fighting art.
Right.
The new fighting art is 3 and 5s. 5s are the first, is what they call super fights, and 3s are the tournament. You know, you got 8 guys fighting 3 rounds. You know, single elimination. As soon as you lose, you're out. And that was the new sport for Ishii. And
I loved it. The battle at the Bellagio, the Grand Prix,
listen,
all of that stuff.
The very first one, me and Roy Jones announced it.
Oh, okay.
Now, here's how this happens. Well, you think, why is a boxer in there? My attorney, I got him from Chuck Norris. Chuck says, you got to get this Henry Holmes. He knows pay-per-view. He knows
That's
movies.
George Foreman's attorney.
Yeah, it's George Foreman. And it's Hulk Hogan's, too, by the way. Just a coincidence. Me and Terry end up with the same attorney. So anyway, I give my attorney, I said, negotiate this deal. This guy wants me to announce the first K1 in America. It's going to be at the time, it was not the Bellagio, it was at the Mirage.
Okay.
So Henry Holmes, and this is why I got rid of him, by the way. And I don't mind, I'm not going to hide this. This is what happened. He tells Ishii, you don't want to use Don Wilson. Americans love boxing. You want to use George Foreman. And George Foreman would announce this for $250,000, I believe was the amount. So I get a phone call from Ishii. He goes, Don, you should get rid of your lawyer. And through an interpreter, he didn't speak English, not one word English. And I go, why? And he said, because this is what happened. He told me not to use you, and he said, I don't want to do that. He said, I know Americans love boxing. He said, he convinced me. Americans do love boxing. I need to get a boxing announcer. I'm thinking he's going to get rid of me. He goes, but I need you, and I'm going to get Roy Jones. So because he knew the HBO contract. See, Foreman had a contract with HBO, but when they sent it to him, he can't announce any boxing, but he can announce kickboxing. And Roy had the same contract. So me and Roy did the show. And every time we had a break, all me and Roy talked about was our fight. Right. Roy goes, Don, I can't get pay-per-view. He said, I bet you if we fight each other, boxer versus kickboxer. And we were in negotiation.
He's been trying to get that done for a long time because he wants to fight Anderson Silva.
Here's what he did.
He wanted to fight Anderson Silva just recently.
Here's what he did, though, with me. Our lawyers, Henry and their lawyers were fighting over the pay-per-view dollars or whatever. And the thing is, Roy could not get pay-per-view by himself.
He was on HBO
He was fighting
boxing.
right. Yeah. He was getting HBO money, which is not pay-per-view money. Right. So they didn't work out the deal. The deal didn't happen, so that's why we didn't fight. And Roy instead got on and got up to 200 to fight heavyweight. That's why he went to heavyweight.
You think he was on steroids when he fought Ruiz?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, because he knew he won the fight, but he realized I ain't no heavyweight.
Yeah,
I ain't no.
Well, he wanted to fight Mike Tyson after that fight, and Tyson didn't want to fight, and that's why he went back down.
Well, he went down.
That's why they're going to fight now.
I think it was his physical superiority is the reason he beat everybody. Mm-hmm. Physically he was faster than he could fight.
Fast,
He would put his hands. Who puts his hands behind his back?
Insane.
And then hits the guy. And the guy's a top 10 fighter. He's not hitting a chump. I'd be lucky if I could do that to an amateur. put my hands back here.
He did it to James fucking Tony.
No, he went like this. He went and he said, I learned that from watching chickens fight.
Right.
Chickens take their wings and they go, they open them up to kind of like, and then Roy's using chicken fighting and still knocking guys on the floor. He was phenomenal. But here's what happened. I believe when he dropped all that weight, he lost his reflexes. Just enough reflexes.
He was getting older too.
That too, because we lose our. I told you, speed goes fast. First thing, so when he got knocked out that first time, he leaned back, thinking he had cleared it, and the guy. Where are you going to go when the punch? No, the other. I don't remember who he was fighting, but
Glenn Johnson.
Whatever it is, Roy got knocked out, and it was a bad knockout. It wasn't one of those stuns.
The first one was Tarver, and then the second one was Glenn Johnson.
But I mean, he's laying there for a long time, not moving. That brain damage is going on when that's going on, because your brain is bleeding and stuff. You know, it's bad. Getting hit and stunned, and you're not clearing your eyes and all. That's the least damaging knockouts. But the ones when you actually go and you're not moving, and that was told to me by the doctor that was the head of the Athletic Commission of Florida. Because here I saw him. A woman gets hit in an amateur show. He jumps in the ring. He immediately gets and he calls the paramedics over, tells them he's called a helicopter to take her immediately to get her head operated on without opening up, just by looking at her. And I asked him, now how would you know she needed to be helicoptered? She didn't make it, by the way. Jesus. A woman amateur boxer died in Orlando. The guy's right there. That's why this is a dangerous sport, boxing. A woman's fighting another woman. A woman hit her, and her brain is our brains are no tougher than hers were.
Right.
But here's the reason why she died. She got knocked out in training, and her trainer didn't tell anybody. She got and she went there, took the physical. They couldn't tell any. They looked in her eyes, and her pupils were working all right. And so, but the reason why he called the helicopter, because I've never seen a doctor do that. Have you ever seen a doctor call a helicopter from the ring? He looks at that fight. Here's what it was. He said, I was watching the fight, Don. She was out of breath. She was breathing like this, and when he went up to her, she was breathing like this. So there's the conscious mind, and then there's the subliminal. There's a back of your head that controls your heartbeat and your breathing and all. And when he could see that was affected, that it's not just her consciousness. She's a little dizzy, which we all can get. Even a jab, you can hit a guy with a jab and I might get a little dizzy. But that's what it was. And so if you ever see that person's got to go to the hospital. That person's not going to recover, or they have, because that doctor, he's the head of all the athletic doctors for boxing in Florida. That was what tipped him off. Is she was breathing heavy. When he went up to her, she was breathing out of her nose like she's taking a nap. And that was if that happens, it's dangerous. And I never saw that. I've been in the fight game all these years, and I never knew if that happened to somebody. If they get knocked out and they're breathing, and they're not like,
it's time to.
Yeah, I got a question for you. Since you've been boxing, I don't know, 2-3 years ago, you kind of just started getting into it.
Yeah.
How has it affected the rest of your life?
How has it affected the rest of my life? Good question. So I play basketball a lot, right? So you go and you play basketball, and especially, after you've been playing at one place for a long time, you go out there and you have an expectation. Basketball is a game where the older you get, the more you can think your way through a game, right? You can take breaks. You can do all kinds of different things to make yourself effective in a game. You can, if I'm on a guy, I can get a screen, call a switch. I can utilize the team around me to make my game better, on offense and defense. You can think your way through a game in basketball. You definitely can. So when I started doing this, the challenge was about my ability to get to a point where I was composed enough in the face of pressure and danger to be able to think. because when you first get in this situation where there's danger, right? Not fear, but danger. Fear not real, danger is real, right? When there's danger, the first thing you do is you stop thinking. Your body goes into a point where it's fight or flight, protect yourself, survive, get here, get there, and you stop using your brain. You just stop using it. So when you're in a boxing ring, the first thing that you learn is how to comport yourself when there is danger right in front of you, and how to stay sharp, and how to stay active in a situation where you cannot escape that danger.
And stay relaxed.
And stay relaxed.
Relaxed. It's a ready relax, though. You're ready. You're not going to take a nap. Nobody's telling you to do that. It's a relaxation because.
But you're breathing, right? Because even now, when I get in there against somebody that is less experienced than me, they are gassed, and I am not gassed at all because I am in complete control, right? So what I learned about myself is how to, and really it's something that you think about how many times you're in a situation where you're meeting conflict head on, and it's physical conflict, and there's nowhere else for you to go, right? What I learned about myself, it hadn't really happened since high school, college, where you're going to, we might have to do something, whatever. But what I learned about myself was that even in a situation like that, I am in control. I'm in control of how I react. I learned a lot about me. I learned about that I'm in control of how I react. My skills are what I have to kind of fall back on, and I have to be alert. But there's no place for fear to be scared. It's like when I'm in there and we get going. Even when you put me in against Rosvon, we talked about this before. Phil put me in against a 280-pound heavyweight. A 280-pound heavyweight, right? We sparred 6 rounds.
He was a top 10 fighter.
We sparred 6 rounds.
At one time.
Yeah, we sparred 6 rounds. It was live. But once I was in there, it was one of the times in my life where I felt the most alive I've ever felt because, I'm here, he's there, I'm not going anywhere. You got to stand your ground and do whatever it is that you got to do.
Well, your skills have improved, though. You didn't come in like last week. You got,
right.
You have. I think you're getting good training. You didn't go to a mediocre guy.
No, it's the real deal.
I see you're relaxed in there, and you're.
But the first thing you have to do is, and it's difficult because you're in there and somebody's telling you, they're saying, "Hey, relax, breathe." They're saying, "Relax, breathe, open your legs, be strong, be sturdy, move." And sometimes, when I would first train, I would be telling him, "Yo, you can't give me 10 things to think about every single second." Now you don't think about any of those things.
Yeah, they don't work until they become subliminal.
Right.
Your body just reacts. You just react. You see this guy, you slip and you move, and you can't slowly think, "Oh, he's throwing a jab. I better catch it with my right hand and then counter hit with my." There's no thought. You got to just do it. Boom, boom. That's why you got to. What is it? Perfect practice makes perfect, right? Not practice makes perfect, because it doesn't if you're not doing it right.
Right.
So you do it right over and over and over, and then it's subliminal. I tell people it's in your brain, but it's not your conscious brain. Your the back of your head is making you move and slip and crowd the guy and back off.
And remember something else about boxing. I think you talked about this earlier. You see, if I'm pissed off, there's a motivation to fight, right? The motivation is anger. If I'm upset and I want to hurt somebody, the motivation is anger. So that is carrying me through the fight. So in any fight I've had on the street or anything like that, it was always, I'm so angry, I gotta do this. In boxing, you can't even rely on that. You can't rely on your anger. What you have to do is be present. And you have to be present. And for people in society, in the world, with everything that going on, all the distractions we have, the most difficult thing that there is to do is to be present, to be in the moment you're in right now and have your focus on something. So that's what it's taught me more than anything. You can't, you have to be present. You have to be alert. You have to be ready. You have to be in that moment.
Yeah, and I wouldn't think that Phil would ever advise his fighters, say, you know how you're going to win this one? I'm going to get you really
mad. Get you really upset.
Just think about that guy, smacking your wife in the face, or that doesn't, for me, that doesn't work. I mean, not the least bit. I've never been angry at any of them.
If nothing else is working, I might go to that.
Well, if you, hey,
I think I might have gone something like that.
To, but I'm
Well,
just
yeah,
saying,
you got to do what you got to do, man.
Yeah, but
That's my job.
it might actually work on somebody, but not necessarily me.
No, I actually
I
need
don't have to get angry at
for me to be effective. I actually have to be in control, because now when you're inside there, I just sparred Friday, and I sparred. It's an interesting story. So I sparred with the guy. He's a good fighter, a lot smaller than me, but he's a good fighter. He got hands, right? Good fighter. So before the last round that we're sparring, he goes, "All right, man, just give me here. We're gonna move around, no power." I'm like, "Okay, cool. Let's get in there, dance a little bit," because he had sparred. This guy's he's got a great stamina.
Don't underestimate, because if a guy's small, he's got something else.
Oh, he's a light heavyweight. He wasn't that small.
He's not that small.
But
he
he
can
speed, though.
Yeah. No. I mean, he's a more experienced fighter than me. I'm not saying it in any way. But he goes no power, and then
that's because you heard him earlier.
Right, but I'm.
Well, then if he says that, then he better not throw any power back at you.
But he did.
He did.
Well, see, that's,
I'm on the ropes, and it's bang bang, boom, and then the straight was like, okay, let's go, and immediately, and so for like, it didn't even make me angry. I'm not mad. It's like, but now I feel your body says you're in a fight. You're not in here. It's not basketball.
Yeah.
It's not golf. It's not. You're in a fight.
You can play golf, right?
Right.
You ever heard anybody say play box?
No, you can't. Right.
You can't play. It's not play. It's boxing.
Eventually, what has to happen now is I gotta press the attack, and if we about to fight, then we're about to fight. All love, though. All love, not angry. All love, but it's like, now I'm awake. Now I'm ready.
I would like to say, and I think I have finally, at 65, after all the years, got control over myself, because I've had many gym wars. Against, top 10 fighters or other champion boxers and kickboxers. Because they'll do something, and then it gets the competitive part, and I open up, and I go. The last guy I sparred, my last sparring partner, I told Phil for my last fight, the last time I saw him, he was sticking his head out of the ring ropes, and I was chunking. I was trying to decapitate him because he broke my rib. But with an elbow, he threw an elbow. What if I throw an elbow on you? That's not sparring.
Right.
That's some dirty street thing he was doing to me. That I was up there leaning back like this, going easy on him. I was playing with him, and maybe that's what ticked him off. Because he was a big guy. Maybe he was 225, 230, and not out of shape. And he was like an amateur heavyweight, though. He didn't know what he was. So I'm just kind of like, and he went boom like that, hit that, and I lost my temper. I'll admit it. I'm not a Buddhist. I'm not Keanu Reeves. He's a Buddhist. And a Buddhist is, we're not supposed to lose. You're not supposed to lose your temper like that. Yeah. I did everything but take my gloves off, and that would have been the next thing. I might have gone to jail if I did something like that, though.
And it's different. If you're doing another sport, you're playing another sport. You're on the basketball court. Somebody too mixy throw you.
Yeah. What if someone gets it and rebound and he goes whack like that? Whack.
Well, I guess what I'm saying is like if
that happens.
If you're,
but
I'll clear you out if you get if you're on me like But like if you're on the court and somebody's too mixy for you, right? They're giving you buckets, whatever. It feels bad, right? You know what it doesn't feel bad as? Somebody in that ring with you putting that jab on your ass, and there's nothing that you can do about it. That's a different type of bad. Like somebody that you can't find. Somebody that's just been doing this longer. Somebody you can't find. Somebody but then there's a different feeling, right? Because when you get better at boxing, when you start to understand what it is that you're supposed to be doing, you have a better respect of the sport. You're watching different things in the sport. It's like understanding the baseball pitcher. You're seeing different things. You're watching the way guys are standing. You're watching the way they're breathing. You're watching where their hands are going. You're watching them between rounds, right? You're watching what they're getting from their coaches, and then you're going out and you're seeing what they're trying to implement, right? Then like right now, I'm the worst to watch a fight with, because I'm watching a fight and I'm standing up, shadow boxing in my house, walking around trying.
I still late at night I'm watching all the whole. My wife goes, "What do you want?" She goes, you're obsessed. You're obsessed. And I said, I guess I am obsessed. I'm obsessed. I watch Marciano's fights now. I mean, I
watched
Tyson's
Hagler
fights.
versus Mugabe
Yeah.
last week.
I trained with Mugabe before he
check
fought.
this out.
Matter of fact, I told Hagler, I stopped Mugabe. I put him up against the ropes and stopped him. I told him how I did it. I said, Mugabe is used to guys being intimidated. He needs to tee off on you. He needs distance. I said, if you could crowd him, keep crowding him. Don't back up, because if you do, that's when his bombs come in. I said, they're all wide. And Hagler said, you know what? We were at a party together. We had the same publicist at the time. He said, they have guys scouting him. He said, they all came back with the same thing. He said, he's deadly if he's moving forward. He said, if you can crowd him, or, he never backed up anyway. I don't think even Hagler backed him up.
He was able to keep that fight in the center of the ring a lot. He did. And then when Hagler crowded him, that's when
that's when he stopped him. Yeah.
Well, I just know for a fact that in the gym, we trained in Tampa. He's from some place in Africa, but he trained and lived in Tampa, Florida. And I lived in Cocoa Beach, Florida, so I'd drive 3 hours to go spar with him. And the last time I sparred him, I told Phil, his trainer Mickey Duff pulled me out because I decapitated him, man. He was out in the thing, in the ring with the headgear on, big 16-ounce gloves, because I just jumped right on him, because from a distance, he's deadly, man. If he caught me, he'd just decapitate me. But when my head was right here, no, he didn't know what to do. Matter of fact, Mickey Duff told Pat Goosen, he goes, I said, now see, Pat, we were having lunch in Van Nuys after leaving with 10 Goose one time. He said, you were wrestling my fighter. You were wrestling John. I said, wrestling? He goes, yeah, you were the wrestler. They told us you were the Yes, I was a collegiate wrestler. I was not wrestling. How are you going to wrestle with boxing gloves on? That was his excuse, though. He didn't want to say that I caught him, and stunned him, and they pulled me off of him.
Hey, so Van, where do you think you're at? At what level, from 1 to 10 or something? At your
Well, what's 10?
10 is like ready to fight for the title.
Then I'm at 2. What do you mean? Like 10. Well, what's it? Like, it depends on what's 10.
No, you're way more than 2, man. I think.
So this is what.
How do you figure out these numbers of Phil's?
No, I'm saying like, how do you? Well, you right now, where are you at? What level?
Below 0.
Oh, okay.
I'm in the absolute worst shape of my. Not adult life.
So
my life of all time. I've never been out of shape.
So this is.
Well, what I meant, what I meant, man. Like, how far more do you think you have to go before you can?
How old are you?
I'm 40.
Young.
Young. What are we talking about? It's over.
Not in boxing.
He's 65. He can't wait to fight.
See, this is what we're talking about. So,
but I told you my prime was 84.
This is the level that I'm at.
Yeah.
Like this is the level that I'm at. Okay.
What do you think?
I'm ready to fight right now. Okay, I'm ready to call out right now.
Any announcer.
Any single kid from the 6th grade to the 8th grade. Okay. Anybody out there that's in the 6th grade, that's 11.
Mike Tyson used
12,
to fight. He was tough at that.
Not
in the
like
8th
that.
grade,
I'm talking
man.
about regular. Chill.
Not young Tyson.
Not young Tyson. Anybody that's 12 that wants really to test their skills, come meet me in that ring right
Bring
there.
it.
I got you.
Bring it.
I got you.
All
Or
right, well,
either 12, or if you want somebody a little bit older, 83. So anyone like that, you ready to fight pro to test your skills? Come meet me in the ring. I'll get you.
Hey,
either after the
in
nursing
18
home,
years, you know who you got to look for.
or after school. Here's the thing that I'm doing it. I actually do, I want to fight. So I'm going to fight. If you think that I'm going to fight Tyson Fury, you're crazy. I want to fight somebody that works at the Tyson chicken plant. Okay?
They're still in business? Oh, yeah.
Whatever. A lot of those guys got COVID because they weren't. I'll fight one of those guys. I'll fight an active COVID patient. Like that's who I'll fight. Somebody who with decreased lung function. That's like getting over it. Like, but if you think that like I'm down to fight or any celebrity type podcaster type people. I'll fight all of those guys.
No,
Any
of course.
of the Pauls, I'll fight those
I
guys.
know Joe Rogan might be pretty tough. Joe Rogan's pretty rugged.
I'm not fighting him. He's been fighting for 30 years. Like
Joe
any
Rogan
of the
is-
Paul brothers, I'll
he-
fight those
he
guys.
knows piece of
Logan
cake.
Paul.
I fight Logan Paul. You know I fight Logan Paul. I fight Logan Paul.
When?
Logan Paul's a good fighter.
When would you fight him? How much time you think you need? And I'll tell you what I think you need.
I don't know how much time I would think.
What do you think? If somebody came up to you and said, "Look, we want you to fight Logan Paul," I don't know. What month were you now?
I mean, I fight Logan Paul. I fight Logan Paul in February. Like I fight Logan Paul in March. I fight Logan Paul after I had time. Yeah, I mean, those guys are good. And by the way, those guys are good fighters. I'm not saying anything about their fighting, but I feel like that's a fight that's a realistic fight. Somebody like that.
Definitely winnable.
Yeah, so something like that. But like, I remember one time Deontay Wilder came to TMZ, and I was like, "Yo, man, I box, I fight," and then I was like, maybe we could. For something on the show or something like that, we can get in the ring, move around a little bit, and spar a little bit. And he looked at me, he went, "I don't go light." And I was like, all right, well, God bless you.
Well, look,
you know what I mean? Like, go, like, God bless you. I hope that you stay healthy because I'm not getting in the ring with you if you don't go light. You think I'm going to get in there and, like, really throw bombs on him? No. So he said he let me know he would spar me, but he wouldn't go light. So that's that.
Well, some celebrities have done a little bit of this kind of thing. Like Geraldo Rivera did a boxing thing for charity with Frank Stallone. And Frank Stallone beat the living daylights out of him. That's what ended up happening. Because Frank has a little real boxing experience from, I think,
would you fight Frank Stallone?
I like the guy.
You like everybody.
Look, I've sparred pros. I'll get in there. I'll spar pros, and I'll spar with pros again. But like, we sparred with the pro guy, and that was an experience.
Your big fight.
You know what?
Your big fight's
going
to be Logan Paul.
What?
It wouldn't be a fight though. It'd be like for.
But Mickey's not going to play with you, man.
That's fine. He can just chunk all the bombs he wants. He's never going to lay a glove on me. You ever seen any of those boxing matches? Phil, please.
I know.
I'm going to run every day, so when I get in the ring, I'm going to be so much more cardiovascular that he's not even going to be able to. Mickey's a nice guy. I mean, I'm not saying anything, But for charity, that's when.
Honest with you, Don.
That's when it would be good because you could raise some money for charity.
I know.
And
Don, let me tell you, you're a nice guy, right? And you just said for charity, you're gonna be run and stuff like that. It seems like you don't want to say that you would bust Mickey Rourke's ass, but that's okay. Just say it.
No, I don't. I don't want to do that. I wouldn't. I like that guy. I don't want to.
But it's a boxing match. You're in the ring with him. You're gonna go. What are you gonna do? You have to fight him. Get it over quick. Why would it be any different? Why would you not get it over quick? If he's trying to knock your ass out.
It's his friend, Phil. Phil, would you? No, there's no friends.
No, not in the ring, man. There's no friends.
I know. What I'm saying is like he doesn't want to have to fight him. He doesn't want to fight.
Oh, Don will fight him for some money, right? Come on, Don.
Well, look, if Mickey's got to make some money too, though.
Of course, man.
Right.
He's got to make.
But
if he's happy,
you always say like you'll fight as long as they pay you.
Of course. But listen, I was just talking about doing it for charity for free,
right.
Raising money for charity.
I wasn't talking about free.
I'm not going to fight him and knock him out. So I guess that shows I'm more selfish motivated than I am charity because, if I'm going to get paid, I don't care if you give the charity any money. I'll give it to him myself.
Yeah, you can do whatever you want. I'm saying that, that's a possibility of a fight. You've been wanting to fight for so damn long, man.
Well,
who else is there?
I mean, obviously, you want the Van Damme
fight. The fight, yeah, well, listen, it's not that I need to fight. I already proved everything
Van Damme
I need in the
should
ring.
do it, man. I don't know why you don't do it.
It's squeezing a few more dollars out of my... Here's what happened. Well, after I was done fighting, and my best year was 1984. So anything I do after that is not me in my prime. My prime was 84. I came out of retirement. The first fight, I got 150 grand. Second fight, I got 50 grand. It was ESPN. It was at the MGM. The third one was at my last fight, Tropicana. It was 30 grand. So I came out of retirement, made $230,000. Oh, I did an exhibition for $38,000. So it was $268,000 I made. And by the way, the exhibition was with a heavyweight fighter from the Russian Association, Draka. And the guy tried to knock me out in the 3 rounds. He was barefoot. He threw a kick so hard he missed me and hit the ground.
You don't think you'd get $1 million to fight Mickey in Japan?
We might be able to.
So would you take the fight?
Yeah, $1 million. I'm a nice guy, but I'm not stupid.
Right.
I could do a lot of good with that $1 million. If I start feeling guilty about making that much money, you know, punching Mickey in the stomach, look, I'm gonna.
Look, it's a boxing match. It's something that you've been doing your whole life.
No matter what happens in the ring, I'm gonna survive, right? So it depends on what Mickey does. If I have to,
he's not going to touch you.
Do anything. If I have to, listen. I look at him and what I see is the body. I see working the body because I know for a fact that he's just all open down there in the body. He's worried about his head. He's thinking I'm going to knock him out or something. No,
Can Mickey fight?
Yeah, a little bit. I mean, he's he's an amateur boxer. Amateur, and not a good amateur. He's not like Olympic gold medalist or anything. And my very first boxing training I got, the very first boxer I ever sparred was rated 8th in the world. He was a welterweight, but I mean at the time I was a middleweight. But so I started off working out with boxers. I mean, I fought champions and Tillman. Tillman was going to, well, the first night I met him in the gym, he'd be asking me to spar him. Because when you get into a boxing ring like Watts, and they say this is the kickboxing champion, J.B. Williamson, Henry Tillman, Prince Muhammad, they all line up to spar the kickboxer because they want to show me what boxing's all about. And it ain't no friendly thing.
Right.
And I never pulled a punch, and I don't imagine they pulled any punches. We just fought hard. Right. But the etiquette is if I stunned one, like if a guy buckled a little bit, I'd back right off. And that's what they're supposed to do to me. I don't know if those guys are thinking that way. Maybe they're thinking if I stun them, I'll finish them. But that's the etiquette. The etiquette is not pulling your punches when you're in there. If you're going with J.B. Williamson, he fought for. Matter of fact, I was J.B.'s sparring partner and Prince Muhammad's when they fought each other. Did you know that? Prince Muhammad's a southpaw, so I can fight
so
both
you went
ways.
Both ways.
Right.
Yeah.
When I was sparring J.B., I'm going. Now listen, I didn't take side. Like I didn't tell him, hey, look, J.B.'s having a problem with his left hand right now. I didn't do any of that. What I did was. I myself told Pat who was going to win. I said, "Who's going to win? You're sparring both of the light heavyweights in the gym." And I said, "JB's going to beat Prince."
He won,
I said, yeah, he did. He won the title. But listen, right after that, JB started doing drugs and all kinds of crap, and it,
right.
But
so when did you think about being a world champion? That you want your fighting to be the world champion. Was it right from day one?
No, it was not. I was just doing it as a training thing. 1974 when I had my first pro fight, $100. What we were doing was doing pulling punches. We'd throw a punch and stop it. We wouldn't really hit people. But when they put on the foam pads, I said, no, you can knock the guy out now. And we fall on concrete like this. I said, well, that's real training.
That was a professional fight?
Yeah, that was a professional.
So that's part of your record?
Yeah, it's the first win.
You fought on cement.
I fought on cement like this, exactly
crazy,
like
man.
that. Yeah. So if somebody, you know what, the boxers all came from the boxing gym at the Orlando Sports Stadium because they thought they were going to witness somebody dying. They knew better. Would you know better? All the boxers came to see these karate guys kill each other. Luckily, we were so terrible the first fights, nobody knocked anybody out.
Well, that's how somebody can get hurt, though.
Luckily.
If you don't know how to fight.
Yeah, if they knew how to fight, I would have knocked people out, or they were going to knock me out. But luckily, it was the first pro fights in Florida.
Done.
So everybody in the table's got a fight coming up, except me.
Well, we're going to try to get you Mickey Rourke. Yeah, Mickey Rourke, man. We'll try. $1 million in Japan, right?
I don't know. Would they pay that? I mean,
Don, you would take 200,000, right?
Yep.
Okay. Hey, listen, it was really great having you guys here today, man. Don, real honor.
I never talked so much about. I can't even remember one thing we talked about, but it's a lot of talking. I know that.
Yeah, thank you, Van. Great.
Whatever you guys
need. I don't know how long your shows are, but you could just chop these up to make a bunch of shows.
Yeah. Whatever you guys need.
Thank you. Thank you.